You're listening to the Culture Junkie podcast, where we go beyond the surface of pop culture.
I'm Keith.
And I'm Xandra. Together, we dive into the craft process and passion that drive today's creators. This is the Culture Junkie podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Jessica Dory, a wonderful musician and person from Belleville, Ontario. What saxophone do you play?
I play tenor, alto, and soprano.
Okay, so just the three. And you play in a band, one of a few different musical enterprises in Belleville. Cue the Funk is your main band enterprise. And we just interviewed one of your bandmates, Sonia Zabak, a few weeks ago. So we got to know a little bit about your band on that podcast, which we were so happy to hear about it. And you also play at the Theatre Guild, the Pinnacle Playhouse up in Belleville, for all the musicals up there. Is there anything else you play for?
Yeah, I also play with the Sean Dory Big Blues Band. Sean is my husband, so he is also in Cue the Funk. It's awesome to share a passion like music with your spouse, and we love that we get to do this together. I've done a couple shows with Chatterbox Theatre, and I'm doing a musical with them coming up in November. We did Cabaret last year. It was sold out weeks in advance, and there was like hundreds of people on the wait list. So they decided to remount it this year with the same cast and the same band. So we're really excited it's kind of a dream scenario that if you have so much fun doing a show I just want to do it again, and we get to do it again, which we're all really excited for.
Oh, that's amazing. And is your husband in that one as well?
No, he's more on the blues guitar side. He's not so much into the musicals like I am, but
yeah, that's fair.
He's very supportive. He comes to see every show that I do. Sometimes it's not his cup of tea, but he, if I enjoy it, he enjoys it, and he's very supportive. So, yeah.
That's amazing that, you guys can share that experience in music. And I wanted to talk about a little bit more of the reason why we were coming on today in October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
I wore appropriate earrings for today.
There you go. Those are the earrings of what are they? A little ribbon, a pink ribbon
Little pink.
Yeah, so that's the pink ribbon that you wear for support for an awareness, if I'm correct, for breast cancer. So you've got some beautiful earrings that you have on, and yeah, they're gorgeous, and your shaved head that has been newly shaved in the last month or so?
I think back in around the end of July was when I had to do it.
July. Yeah. So you are going through your process. You're diagnosed with breast cancer yourself, which is why we're talking about it. And we're going to talk about how music has helped you cope going through this whole situation, because it's a journey, a health journey, and I wanted to hear about where it all began.
With the diagnosis?
Yeah, tell me where it began, and then we'll talk about how the music came into your life. So tell me about how did you start off with this journey?
Back at the end of January, early February, my husband, Sean, actually was the first one to feel a lump in my right breast. I've always had a history of dense breast tissue, which is something to be very aware of. It makes it harder to feel lumps when they happen, but I've always had a history of it. Didn't think anything of it. And then it started to become a little bit more pronounced. So I already had an appointment with my doctor at some point in March. And I asked her to check it out. She examined it. She said, it doesn't feel like it's anything concerning, but I would call your family doctor just to get in for a mammogram, just to make sure. I'm sure it's nothing, just to make sure. So I was scheduled in for a mammogram and an ultrasound at the beginning of April. And then those initial results came back just instantly suspicious. There's a diagnostic criteria called a BI-RADS scale. There's
Okay.
6 points on it. A 0 is there's no cancer, there's no risk, everything's fine, and 6 is a confirmed malignancy. I came back immediately at level 5, which means you have a
Wow.
95% chance of malignancy. They just need to prove it.
Right.
So within 6 days, I was in for a biopsy at the Breast Assessment Center in Trenton. The staff there were absolutely amazing. I kind of had a feeling this is where it was headed after that biopsy, because after the biopsy, the doctor was just such a sweet person. She
Yes.
tapped her hand on my leg and said, take this one day at a time and just stay positive and you got this. I was like, I don't think they give that pep talk to everybody. I was a little bit prepared, but you're never fully prepared to get that diagnosis. So they did confirm I have what's called invasive ductal carcinoma, which means it's cancer that started in a milk duct and then spreads into the surrounding tissue. And then that's what causes a tumor to grow.
Right.
The whole process felt very slow and very fast at the same time. The time in between waiting for results after you've had these tests and had these scans, it's just the waiting is unbearable. You go through every
Yeah.
possible scenario in your head, and then even after like waiting on a treatment plan, like the waiting in between this process is worse than
Mhm.
having a treatment plan to just lean into. So after I had that diagnosis, I was referred to a surgeon. I had a lumpectomy in June, which means they just took the tumor out. And then anytime you have a surgery for breast cancer, they also biopsy the lymph nodes, because that's the first place that the cancer will try to spread to. And then once it spreads into a lymph node, it could go anywhere in your body.
Yeah.
So they took 5 lymph nodes during my surgery, and one ended up being positive, which is not great, but it's kind of the best of the worst case scenario. And then that helps determine their treatment plan as well. So
Yeah.
that immediately upped my protocol. At least first they thought uh, I could get away with surgery and radiation, but once there was lymph node involvement, that started me on chemo. I found out on a Friday that I was starting that following Tuesday, so they do not mess around. I know we have issues with our healthcare, but when there's something serious going on, like they are right on it. It everyone's been so attentive. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so I was put on a chemo protocol called ACT, which means I had 4 treatments of a combination of drugs, and then the last 4 was another single drug. So I go for my last chemo next Wednesday, and then I get to ring the bell, which I'm very excited for.
I'm excited for you too. That's amazing. And I mean, for those who don't know you, you're a very young woman, and they don't recommend getting your
Mhm,
first mammogram until you're 50 now, is what I've been told. So
mhm.
how old are you, for the audience, if you want to let them know?
I was diagnosed when I was 38. I am 39 now.
But since you found a lump, just for a educational thing, so you should just go in no matter what.
Mhm.
Like if you find a lump, something suspicious, you just go in and talk to your doctors.
Yeah, and there's many changes that can happen. And then even age-wise, the first thing my oncologist said when I met him was, "Hi, you're too young to be here."
Oh,
Breast cancer is more common in older people, but they are seeing it younger and younger because the recommendations have actually been updated. There's something called the Ontario Breast Screening Program,
mhm.
in which you can self-refer yourself for a mammogram if you're over 40 and over 30 if you've got a family history of breast cancer. I have no history of breast cancer in my family, a history of a lot of other types of cancers. So this still, I mean, I'm living it and I'm in it, and it's still there's days I don't think about it for a stretch of time, and then other times
Yeah,
I'm like, oh yeah, I'm getting treatment for cancer. Like what is happening?
yeah,
But the breast screening program is definitely beneficial. But because I had what was called a palpable lump, like a lump that you could feel, the mammogram that I went for was deemed like a symptomatic mammogram. So if you have a symptom, but there's so many symptoms that you can watch out for. The only symptom that I had was a lump that I could feel. And I was very, very tired. I'm a millennial. I work a lot. Being
yeah.
tired is just, part of my normal state, but it was just next level tired that I just couldn't shake. And in retrospect now, that was my only other symptom. But there's physical changes that I didn't see at first, but because um, the tumor that I had was semi-aggressive. There was changes between feeling it at first and when I was diagnosed, and then eventually, and then even after, right before I had my surgery. But any changes in the shape, if there's any changes when you raise your arm, if there's any indentations, any unusual discharge, there's uh, there's so many different symptoms to watch out for. If there's anything suspicious, if you feel anything suspicious at all, it is absolutely worth getting it checked. Mammogram machines are so much more sensitive these days, so they don't need to use as much compression.
Mm, that's
The thought of, that part of you being compressed seems very painful, but the machines are very sensitive and they don't need to press as hard, and they get very clear images. It is honestly, it was not as painful as I was expecting.
well, you know what? I just went for my first mammogram last week. First ever. I just found out that I do have a history in my family. The tendency is to
Mhm,
not talk about it for
mhm,
past generations. So that's why I didn't know I had a history in
mhm,
my family. And it was my father's
mhm.
mother who died of breast cancer in her 60s. And I had no idea because they just didn't talk about
Oh,
such things back then. So it's important to ask your family and just, I know some families don't really wanna talk about it. It's a sensitive subject, especially, it might be on your father's side, and they don't wanna talk about that kind of stuff, but it is important to know what age your maternal or paternal grandmother or your auntie or even a cousin,
mhm,
if they had it, it's important to know that, and it might be a little uncomfortable to ask about stuff like that, but, you know, that is a really important part of finding about health, and I think that it's really great that you're helping to spread that knowledge about it. But I wanted to bring it back to some of these wonderful photos that you sent me of you had a sitting room all set up in your beautiful historical house up in Belleville. The brickwork is very nice. It looked like a very calming and gentle space for you to put yourself in.
mhm,
And I guess this was a time where you said you didn't know what the future held. You were waiting on and I can understand why that would be one of the most difficult moments. I had cancer myself on my face here. I had the skin cancer and waiting for the results. And what am I going to do? Like, what's
mhm,
the next step? How am I going to decide what the next step is until I get the results?
mhm,
So I totally understand that waiting period of being in full limbo. Your whole life is just waiting for the next piece of information. And
mhm,
it looks like that you put yourself in the most comfortable, calming stasis position that you could find while you were waiting to get these results. And then we're looking at some Cinderella posters where it says that no matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, the dreams that you wish will come true. And that does sound something like something uplifting and hopeful that no matter what's going on,
mhm,
just keep on keeping on and focusing on what you do love, and I guess that is the music
mhm.
that you were talking about.
And very relevant for that point because I was in the band for Cinderella at the Theater Guild during this whole diagnostic process. The music director was so understanding, and I had a sub lined up to cover for one show for me, and she was so understanding as well. She's like, "You can leave it to the very last minute if you need me to sub in for the entire run." So I really stuck it in there, but just between the mental fatigue and
Mhm.
it's I can't describe the level of distraction when you're waiting for those test results, and I just did not have the mental capacity or the energy to be able to put into a show. You've done theater, your mom is
Yeah.
obviously very active in theater. The energy that it takes to put into a show like that when you're feeling well is a lot, and
Yeah.
I didn't wanna, affect anyone else's hard work just because I felt like I couldn't prepare enough. So, I ultimately made the decision to back out, which was so devastating, and I cried so much about it. I cried the whole day at work on opening night, like, I was just devastated, and I think it was not only just missing the show, it was just another way that this process kinda felt like it took a little bit of control away.
Mhm.
So just, like, finding little ways of, like, being able to take back control and feel like you've got some kind of an active role in your life because it really does. It makes you feel quite helpless a lot of the times.
Yeah. Yeah, it kinda takes over the
Mhm.
whole situation,
It
and
does.
perhaps, maybe gives you a feeling that your identity has shifted. Like,
Mhm.
now you're a whole different person dealing with a whole
Mhm.
different situation,
Mhm.
and dealing with things that you never even thought about before.
Mhm.
Saw some pictures here where your hands are in the cold glove to help with keeping your fingers from losing any feeling in them, which
Mhm.
obviously comes back to the musical element. And you
Mhm.
said that was successful in helping to keep your hands
Mhm.
from losing their feelings?
Yeah, it seems to be working so far, so cross fingers. It's I have one left, it seems to be working. Actually, when I was getting my last treatment, one of the oncology pharmacists walked past and she was like, "Good for you." She's like, "I wish everybody did that. There's evidence that this works, and I wish more people
Mhm.
took that active role in doing that research in the cold therapy." It really has made a difference so far.
I definitely understand not doing research because when I
Oh,
when I had my cancer, I was like, "I don't wanna look. I don't wanna."
it's awful. The amount of misinformation, like, it bugged me before, but it just enrages me now. There's
Mhm.
people on Instagram and TikTok going on, and I learned very early. I've been very open about this whole journey from the
Yeah,
beginning, sharing it on Facebook, sharing updates. I'm not one to wanna hide it, and like you were talking about before, just awareness. There
yeah,
were people that sent me messages that were like, "Oh, I've had breast cancer 4 times," or just people don't talk about it very much, which is why
yeah,
Breast Cancer Awareness Month is so important. I was going around to everyone saying, "If you wanna feel what a breast tumor feels like," all of my all of my girlfriends, I'm like, "If you wanna feel this, this is what you're feeling for."
yeah,
And, it was very important for me just to be open about what was going on because it's not
mhm,
gonna make me feel better to hide it, and if seeing it can kinda plant that little bug in the back of someone's head if they see any physical changes to maybe I should go get this looked at.
yeah,
I needed a way to, have some kind of a silver lining in this situation. Like
yeah,
if you can be that person that someone thinks of if they notice something different in the shower one day and it saves them like that. That was very important to me just to be
yeah.
open about it from the beginning.
And it does sound like taking a bit of control
Yeah.
back from
Yeah.
the situation so that you can use your new knowledge that you just found out to help your community and your
Mhm.
friends and
Mhm.
anyone else because you're like, "I didn't know all of this before."
The amount of information is crazy.
Yeah, and I have to say that you spurned me on to get my first mammogram because
Oh.
I mean, I meant to go get it years ago, but, my, life was happening and my stepfather was passing away, and he actually passed away the same week that I was supposed to go get my mammogram, and I couldn't leave his bedside. So sometimes we put ourselves
Mhm.
on the back burner and then dealing with the grief after that happened. It's
Mhm.
been 3 years since that happened and I didn't go take care of myself. But it's very important to you know if you can, because it is a mental as you said, it is mentally exhausting to go in and make sure you get that test, and I
Mhm.
can understand why people would be hesitant or, afraid, like, I just don't have time to deal with this right now. But as you say, it's better to go in earlier and as soon as
Mhm,
possible. So even if, your doctor's saying it's probably fine, whatever,
mhm,
you have to advocate for yourself. And it sounds like you
yeah.
had a wonderful doctor.
Even the radiologist, when I was in there for my biopsy, I said, I was like, "I feel really stupid, like, I didn't feel this first myself, like, this is part of my body, like, I use body lotion every day after I
Yeah.
shower." I'm like, "I don't know how I didn't feel this, like, this is part
Mhm.
of me, I didn't feel this." And I was like, "I feel really stupid that I felt this, in January end of January, early February, and I'm just now here in April." And she stopped and looked at me. She's like, "Jessica," she's like, "I've seen people that felt a lump 5 years ago and didn't
Mhm.
come in until it's too late." She's like, "The fact that you felt it in, February and that you're here in April is amazing." And she's like, "You have nothing to feel
Yeah.
bad about or feel ashamed about." Like, everyone in
Good.
this process is just so, like, encouraging, and but it's funny, like, the places that your brain go. I say funny very
Yeah.
loosely, but it's the thought process of your brain, because obviously, like, you don't ever expect this to happen to you, so when it does, your brain doesn't really quite know how to compute sometimes, and it
Yeah.
just kinda runs through
I
every scenario and
should
every
have done this,
dot.
should have done that. Da, da, da. Yeah, again, I think that's
Yeah.
coming back to the feeling of needing control in a situation that you feel
Mhm.
out of control completely, like it's out of your hands. So your brain's trying to roll
Totally.
back and say, well, I should have done this. I could have controlled the situation if I had only done that.
Mhm.
But it's like you can't. Like I feel the same way when I think about, I should have gone in, right after 3 years ago. I should have, even though my doctor's saying, oh, you don't need to get one till you're 50, and oh, I don't want to waste anybody's
Mhm.
time and I don't want to be a bother. No, be a
Mhm.
bother and go in there. It's
Be
better
a
if you
be
do
a
it.
bother.
Yes.
Be a bother. I found over certain points too, there's like almost a feeling of disconnect from your body during some
Ah,
of the process. So just finding ways to, be good to yourself. And I've had a couple friends both recently go through cancer, and they've both given me just hordes of amazing information. Like, you can get all the information in the world from your doctor, but hearing that what you're
yeah,
feeling is normal, like, and I'm a huge whatever you need to feel at that moment, like, you feel what you need to feel, but hearing, you know, certain coping mechanisms, and, like, do something nice for yourself every day, like, even if it's just
yeah.
something like a face mask, or giving
Mhm.
yourself, like, a head massage, like, just being good to yourself that way, it helps
Yeah,
kinda bridge that disconnect between your brain and your body. And I felt a couple times like I was really mad at my body. I take you for walks, and I give you
yeah,
vegetables, and I give you lots of water, like, how dare you do this to me?
yeah.
But it's it can be caused by absolutely nothing, and there's not always a triggering factor that happens. Sometimes it just happens. You could be
Uh,
a marathon runner who, is diagnosed with stage 4, and you could only ever eat junk food and fast food and be completely inactive. You live till you're 100. There's really
yeah,
there's so many different factors in it. It's absolutely crazy. Like, but the some of the misinformation out there's people on Instagram and TikTok telling people to ignore their doctors and eat more carrots, and, like,
yeah.
that can be great complementary therapies, but don't be going on and giving out medical advice when you're not qualified.
No.
Like, it drives me absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's tough when people are vulnerable, when those
Absolutely.
people get them, and so it's horrible that they're going in for such a
Mhm.
vulnerable situation.
There's a breast surgeon in the UK, named Dr. Liz O'Riordan, who is obviously a medical professional who also has gone through breast cancer herself. So I found her videos very helpful and informative, and, you know, qualified over, someone that took a 2-hour course and is now
Yeah,
certified.
yeah.
Um, so I found her videos very helpful, and then there's another YouTuber named Grace Helbig who also went through a breast cancer journey, and I found watching that very helpful as well, because I had, the medical information from Dr. Liz, and then a bit more of the personal side of it, and the feelings that pop up, and yeah, it's a wild journey.
So, as soon as you felt like you could handle it again, you jumped back into music.
Mhm. I had my surgery on June 18th. We had a couple shows booked that weekend, so I did have a sub step in for me. We wanted to announce that obviously I was going through something and that I might
Yeah.
be away for a couple shows. So that list actually started as a joke, and we're
Yeah.
like, this is kind of a light way to announce that I might not be there. So I missed those 2 shows, and then Canada Day weekend has always been really big for our band. We made our debut on Canada Day in 2018. So Canada Day in the county has just always been kind of our bandiversary, and we always do multiple shows on that weekend. So I had an amazing sub lined up who was very flexible and was like, if you need to let me know the day of if you're not feeling up to it. But on day 11, after my lumpectomy, my pain was under control. My saxophone
Nice.
harness that I wear to support the instrument didn't
Yeah.
interfere with any of my surgical sites. So I was like,
I
you know what? I'm gonna do it. I've been cooped up
Amazing.
for 11 days.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to do this. So I just iced in between and I just sat down to play. I didn't help as much with setup as I normally would, which
Mhm.
obviously everyone understood, but there's just the happy feelings that come from playing music and just seeing people dance and enjoy themselves. It was like it was the best medicine. It was such a good feeling. And then on day 12, so the day after we played another show, um, that one was a little shorter. I was very, very, very tired that day. But again, my pain was under control. I wasn't lifting beyond my limits. And it was very, I found it very empowering to be able to go on
Mhm.
stage. Because visibly at that point, like I still had my hair, I hadn't started chemo. At that part, I didn't even think I needed chemo, but it was just very empowering to know, like, I just had this, kind of not major surgery, but I just had surgery.
Yeah.
And it was just very empowering to be able to go on
Yeah.
stage. I think a couple of the main ways that it really helped me is by always having something to look forward to. And with music, there is always a rehearsal, there is always a show, there is always practicing to do. So just always having something to look forward to and something that you can think about other than being a patient in that moment. It is a really nice distraction and very, very helpful just to have that forward thinking to get through treatment. The other way I feel like it has really helped me is this whole process in a very strange way is very empowering. You don't know how strong you can be until you have to be that strong. You have no option other than to go through the hard stuff and get through it. And adding music to that, being able to do a show, 4 days, 5 days post chemo, 11 and 12 days after surgery, it feels very empowering and you feel like a very strong person once you do that and once it's done. So just giving you that confidence to um just to get through the hard days and get through the hard things. And also it just gives you something nice to think about, like, oh, that audience was really great, or oh, I feel like I played that part really well. So those are a few of the specific ways that I feel like music has been helping me cope through this process and will continue to help me cope through the rest of my treatment.
Yeah, it's not just surgery for the body, but it's surgery for your emotions and your
Hmm.
thoughts. It's mentally exhausting as well as
Hmm.
physically. So, and I wanted to read this cute list really quickly because if for everybody listening, it says sub requirements: must play slide whistle, must Google or ogled guitar player, must laugh like Dr. Hibbard. Must be pro sequin. Must throw underwear at guitar player during ladies' night. Must have best eye makeup and hair in the band. Must yell no at Sean when he plays Stairway to Heaven. Must have giggle energy. Must believe pickles are a lifestyle, not merely a food. And bonus, play tenor saxophone and clarinet.
It's totally started as a joke and then it just kind of took off.
Bonus
The
plays.
bonus is like the main
The
thing.
actual requirement is the bonus. Yeah.
Exactly.
It looks like you had a massive amount of wonderful support from your community, your coworkers, your
Mhm,
husband, Sean,
mhm,
his father, your
mhm,
father-in-law, all shaved their heads in support.
mhm.
I mean, that's
It
incredible.
I found, half the time I was like, I'm proud that I can talk about it now. At the
Yeah.
beginning, I couldn't even think about it or talk about it at all without crying, and I'm proud that I can talk about it now, and A lot of the times when I would get really emotional and start crying, I think probably over half the time it's because I was feeling the overwhelming kindness of people. I'm very much I like to be the helper and,
Mhm.
be the one that takes care of other people, so to have that role reversed, I found quite difficult at first, but just feeling the, like, overwhelming support and just pure kindness from people, like, it just turned me into a sobbing mess every time.
Yeah.
So your hair starts to fall out quite quickly once you start chemo, and, something that is not really publicly known is if you've got long hair, the pain in your scalp when you have hair pulling on it, it gets really
Ooh,
overwhelming. So
right,
that's why a lot of people, I think, choose to shave.
right.
My hairdresser is amazing. She's a good friend of mine. She lives right next to my sister, and I was like, "I don't want this to be a sad thing. It's part of the process. It's what we
Mhm.
need to do." So, we actually just named it our like a head shaving party, and I knew I wanted to donate it while I still had it. I could face being bald, but I couldn't face going bald. I didn't wanna
Yeah.
see, those those bits falling out. So once it really started to shed, we came up with a hair shaving party and we were playing
Yeah.
musicals in the background and they arranged food and drinks and we made it fun and everyone took turns cutting the ponytails off. And that was also just another little take back control, like empowering thing to be able to cut those ponytails off. So yeah, we made it fun. We made it a thing. But yeah, definitely recommend if you are going through this. I'm very sorry, but if
Yeah.
it just like take that control and cut that hair yourself. And
Yeah.
I do want to mention this as well. Locks of Love will accept hair that has been dyed, and also hair that has been subjected to chemo.
Oh, really?
It has to be
How
10
yeah,
inches,
okay, 10 inches.
like a 10 inches.
Okay,
And then I think even if they can't use that full length, they have other organizations that they can give the non-usable lengths to. But
okay.
yeah, Locks of Love will accept hair that's dyed and hair that's been subjected to chemo. So if you wanted to make a donation, and I figured I had it, I wanted to be able to give it to someone while I had it.
Okay, yeah, because in our pictures here, we can see your beautiful bright red hair, and another way to give back to people while you're going through
Mhm.
your own journey so you can feel doing something. I'm here. My body is doing its process and this is part of the process. Like the last couple pictures of A1 Plumbing is wearing all of their breast cancer awareness pink t-shirts.
Mhm.
What a great place to work. Shout out to A1 Plumbing.
Your office is in Trenton, but we service Belleville, Trenton
Okay.
County.
Okay, everybody just yeah, so and then now, yeah, just tell me what projects you've got that you're coming up with now and what you wanna do in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, I'm in a production of Cabaret with Chatterbox Theater. We did a production of it last year at the Cape in Picton. There are still tickets available. Last year, we sold out weeks in advance, and there was hundreds of people on the wait list. So we're doing remounting the show with the same cast and the same band. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be in November. Obviously, Halloween at the Belleville Club with Cue the Funk. We're looking into doing more things with our blues band. And then as far as treatment goes, I finish up chemo next Wednesday. I get a little bit of time in between just for, I'm assuming, a lot of follow-up appointments and
Mhm.
follow-up scans, just to see how I've responded to chemo. And then I go for a month of radiation in Kingston. It's hard to make definitive plans, just not
Yeah.
knowing, next steps in treatment and everything. But um, yeah, looking forward to doing more musicals and
Yeah.
finishing treatment and
As a final note, what would you suggest to anyone going into this process, looking in at their breasts, knowing about breast cancer for this Breast Cancer Awareness Month that we are here? What would your final thoughts be for anyone looking at the process? Man, woman, doesn't matter if you have breasts or not. What would you want to tell them?
just be very familiar with your body. If you feel anything different, if you see anything different, if you have any unexplained fatigue, any changes in in shape or if there's a change in color or just any change at all, and also have your partner be familiar as well. It was my partner that found mine, and if you are a partner, and you feel anything different, tell someone.
Mhm.
Also, don't be afraid of the testing and the scanning, but I completely understand a lot of people avoid going for these tests because they're scared of what might be found. The
Mhm.
earlier you can find it, the better your chances are, the more treatment options you have. Just be familiar with your body, and if there's anything that even slightly triggers a red flag, go get it looked at. And then if you do unfortunately get a diagnosis, again, I'm so sorry that you have to deal with it, but just find your support system,
Mhm.
lean into the process and just trust the process. Know that it's temporary. Something that's been really helpful for me is reshifting my thinking into, "Oh, I feel so crappy from treatment today. I feel really gross," to, "I get to feel crappy from treatment. I get to feel
Mhm.
bad now so I can be okay later."
Yeah.
So the I get to have treatment. There's so many people that don't get the opportunity for
Yeah.
treatment, and I'm very, very thankful that I do. Just having that mindset of, I get to, I get to have treatment. I get to be here. I get to,
Yeah.
get old with my husband, which I'm very thankful for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just go in as soon as you can, be a bother. Don't feel like you're
Be
being
a
a
bother.
bother.
I love that phrase.
Get
You're
in
right. There's
there.
nothing about your health that exactly.
Exactly. And get your support system, surround yourself with your
Mhm.
people, and just take it one day at a time.
And talk to other people that have been through it. They will be your best resource for I don't think I would have gotten through this as smoothly without, you know, the friends that I talk to in depth about treatment and just, coping strategies and, um hearing from people that have, come through it like 20, 30, 40 years later.
Yeah.
Just it's the theme of this month. It's awareness, just talk about it. Be
Yeah.
open about it, talk about it. We all have bodies. It's a possibility for everyone. Just be open and aware and talk about it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about it with us today. I really appreciate you sharing your story. It's helped me so much just hearing about it.
You.
And I hope it helps other people as well, just knowing what to look for and what the possibilities are moving forward. So thank you so much for joining
Absolutely.
us today. All right.
Thank you for having me.